Do you know where those manhole covers are made that you see on every New York City street? Ever wondered? I remember the first time I noticed. I was visiting New York City, walking the streets and looking down. And there it was, an NYC sewer manhole cover with the words "Made in India" in block letters. I'm Adam Huggins. I'm a photojournalist. I've been living in India for the last 5 years. When I returned to India after visiting New York City, I wanted to see how these manholes were made. I traveled to Howrah, a small town outside of Calcutta, where there are numerous foundries which make manholes. I found my way to the main gate of one foundry called Shakti Industries. I stepped inside and saw sewer grates, manhole covers, and other castings. All the things that for me characterized New York City's streets lying in a dusty yard. The workers were doing various tasks. Some carried materials like coke and pig iron on their heads upstairs to the foundry's furnace feeding room. At the base of the furnace, a long line of men who were shirtless and barefoot waited to receive the molten liquid as it poured out. The temperature outside that day was over 100 degrees, and with the furnace churning out molten metal, it was ridiculously hot. Within minutes of getting there, my shirt was completely soaked in sweat. I understood why the workers wore as little as possible during their shifts. The production manager who showed me around took the temperature of the molten metal, 1400 degrees Celsius. That's more than 2500 degrees Fahrenheit. Often, sparks would explode from pots of liquid metal. At one point, I saw sparks leap up and ignite a worker's wrap or lungi. As if it were entirely normal, he quickly put out the flames with one hand and continued to carry the molten metal to a nearby mold. They would huff and yell as they hauled the liquid between the spout and the molds, but there was no talking. Unless they needed to for direction or to get out of one another's way. Otherwise, it was just doing the job silently, with intense focus. These guys were strong and amazing to watch in action. The process of hauling the liquid metal from the furnace to the molds went on for several hours. The last run ended near dusk. I also saw a few women working inside, making small parts for the molds. It seemed the heavy lifting was left to the men. Once the metal solidified and cooled, and the rough edges were polished down, the last step would begin. The men would stack the manholes and bolt them together for shipping. They'd then use a forklift to load them into a container set on a flatbed truck. Batches of manholes from the foundry in Howrah are then transported to the port of Calcutta, where they are loaded onto a cargo ship bound for the United States. Eventually, they make it to the streets of New York, complete with the Made in India tag. This is Adam Huggins for the New York Times.